Call this regular meeting of City Council to order today, September 1st, 2020, 7 p.m. at Stafford County Annex. Are there any additions to the agenda? Okay, we do have one 10-minute executive session for non-elected personnel to be added. Unless there is no other business, I entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Are there any citizens' comments this evening? Okay, moving on to consent agenda. Approved minutes, regular council meeting, August 18th, 2020, and special meeting, August 26th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Appropriation ordinance 9/1/2020 in the amount of $208,783.69.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second on the table. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, at this time, I'm going to be moving up some discussion on the water tower so that the gentlemen don't have to stay here the entire time. Mr. Tony Grant from McGuire Iron Incorporated.
Yes.
If you would like to speak right now, please.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Well, I just think it'd be fair if I left while he talked and he left while I talked, just because, for polite reasons.
Mr. Grant, would be okay?
Are you okay with that,
Okay.
Tom?
Yeah, that's fine.
And, I mean,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
You're fine, thank you.
Well, thank you for your time. My name is Tony Grant. I represent McGuire Iron. I'm the regional manager for Kansas, located in Olathe. I'm originally from Parsons, Kansas. Started my tank career in 1988 and have been involved with design, manufacturing, and construction of water tanks and water towers throughout that time. Not always with the same company, but with 2 or 3 different companies. In 2017, the city of St. John entered into a service agreement, a 9-year agreement with frequency of every 3 years to wash out and inspect your water tower as it relates to KDHE's guidelines to meet compliance. We completed a 2017 and a 2020 this year, and in that process, there were some things that have changed from 2017 to 2020. We were asked to provide a proposal, a general proposal in regards to a scope of work, schedule, and pricing for that work. I've included a packet that I sent to Jamie that talks about the history and the, of McGuire Iron and who we are. It's a South Dakota company. It's an actual tank manufacturer as well as servicing and maintenance of water towers. We design, manufacture, and construct roughly 30 water towers a year, and we maintain and service over 1,000 water towers. Just in May and April of this year, we washed out and inspected 75 water towers in the state of Kansas. So McGuire Iron has a long history in Kansas and with water towers. I sent a general design or a general drawing in regards to the cone roof. Through the 2017, there was notes in regards to some visible defects, especially in the vapor zone, which is the most corrosive area of the water tower. In 2020, it had progressed worse, and there were multiple accesses, pitting that had created holes in the roof. So I got with John, and we did another assessment to take a closer look to understand and know whether that roof could be saved, repaired, or if it would need to be replaced. During that process, several testing was done in regards to coating thickness, corrosion, adhesion of coating, and all of that was viewed by NACE Level 3 coatings inspectors, which is as high level as you can get. In that process, we decided that the roof needed to be replaced in lieu of being repaired. I provided the different type of programs and solutions, different solutions that we offer. We provided what we call a contract for services, and that contract for services can be set up in a scope of work, a schedule, and a budget that fits your requirements, whether that's spreading cost out 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, whatever that may be in regards to the scope of work that you would like to have completed. We also provided a maintenance program, a full service maintenance program. I provided a detail in regards to benefits and values as it relates to benefits and as values for you as the customer on that maintenance program. I believe that there is value in either one. It really is. I mean, it's your water tower. We want to provide you with the best information, cost, schedule, scope of work, and give that to you and let you make your, what is in your best interest in regards to either a contract for services or a maintenance program. I believe there's value in both, and it's going to be what depends and fits your requirements. Also provided a number of references, several in the area, tanks that we build in the area, and that. I guess what I've provided so far, it was not, I guess, in my mind, wasn't finalized or confirmed of a scope of work. So I would guess I would have to say that the pricing and the proposal that we've provided so far, I guess in my mind, is preliminary, because I'm not exactly sure the scope of work or schedule or spread fees that you guys would like to see or what fits your budget and your interest. McGuire Iron would manufacture, design, manufacture, paint part of that roof in-house. We could get that done this year. There's multiple holes on that roof. As a compliance issue with KDHE, sanitary is a high-profile compliance issue with KDHE, and I would highly recommend getting that done as soon as you can, regardless of who you believe is in your best interest. We believe McGuire Iron is that. We're not just a painting company. We don't just paint water towers. We design, manufacture, and construct, as well as roofs and other parts, such as roof vents and things like that. So we know water towers very well. And so we can have that done yet this year. I checked with our operations director, and there isn't a problem with getting that manufactured and put on and painted this year. Obviously, something like that would need to get approval fairly soon, so that we have that time and ability to do that. As we all probably know, you want to obviously paint in optimal situations, conditions, with the majority of that being done in-house as far as the zinc primer. We feel strongly that we could get that done. Obviously, whether that's at the end of September or in early October. So I guess I'm trying to understand again what maybe a final scope of work you guys would like to see, so that we could finalize pricing and a schedule for you on that. I'm not sure. I was, I guess, a little surprised that another company that you are considering is here, because I didn't know that there was maybe a decision going to be made tonight. I thought maybe we were just trying to, again, try to define a scope of work, and it was my understanding that that this gentleman also made an appearance maybe at your last meeting as well. So I don't know if there's any questions for me, or if there's maybe a time period where I could get maybe a defined scope or understand how you guys might like to proceed as far as the scope of work.
Council, anybody have any questions or comments?
You said we had a service agreement with you guys?
Yes, it goes through 2026, a frequency of every 3 years, so your next inspection, washout inspection would be in 2023.
So is that all we have with you, is like an inspection walkout plan?
That is correct.
When was that done this year?
I believe it was either April or May. I believe it was earlier, so I believe it was in April.
I guess that's what brought all the problems to our attention.
Well, no, I didn't see anything. Rick had come out to inspect the nitrate plant. And when he was here, he went and looked at the water tower, and that's how everything got brought to my attention. I don't think the report had got back to us yet, because I had messaged
Yeah,
him.
in early July or late June is when I did my assessment. So I guess, I think time-wise, that would have been prior to Rick Penner. And I got with John and said, hey, I'd like to come and do a further assessment on this, because there's several holes that showed up on the inspection report.
Right.
And I looked at the prior time that we did it in 2017, and there was notable corrosion that was discussed in the summary, but there weren't visible holes at that time. And so after 3 years of that, I wanted to make another assessment of it, which happened in late June, I believe. And then I put, I guess, what would be my recommendations, a contract for services and a maintenance program for consideration. At least some preliminary things so that you guys could review, kind of look at and decide, yeah, well, pricing wise, yeah, let's do these 3 things. We can't do it all, but let's focus on the interior. Let's focus obviously on the roof. Those are the 2 main focuses. There's some other things, whether that be OSHA related, safety related, that we would recommend, but those things can happen as your budget allows as well.
So if we were to do the new roof, new paint, everything gets back for regulations, you have a dollar amount for that besides that?
Yeah, I provided, I guess, what I would consider a minimum type of a recommendation that I provided, again, back in July. July 2nd is the date on it, and it's $98,625. And that's what we would call upfront renovations for right now. Again, that's a preliminary number. It's a preliminary scope of work. I've got the roof being replaced. I've got the interior being completed, and then some repairs. Some of that is with the roof, a new roof vent, a new roof hatch. The new roof ladder would be on there, and then a drain plug.
So if we did that, then we would just go back to after that, we would go back to the washout service agreement.
Well, that's still active, so we would still do those, complete that. But obviously, there's some other work that will be here before you know it. Obviously, the reality is you own a water tower and it needs maintenance. How you maintain it is totally up to you. We're going to give you, again, the best information. You're doing a good job in regards to a service agreement with a company that you trust, has long history in the territory, and at least you can keep up on things that way. There's a number of ways, obviously, to manage the overall schedule and the budgeting of it, and that's obviously, again, totally up to you. We're going to make sure that you know this. The rest of the tank, legs, you have lattice legs, the belly, sidewall, has high mils of coating on it. You can likely overcoat one more time. There's a product that we use that is an elastomeric type coating, and so it will keep, because you have poor adhesion in areas, it will keep that on. But there's a point where that's going to put too much stress on the base coat, too many mils on there, and you would be paying 50 grand or so to do the exterior again, not knowing that it should last 10 to 12 years. But that stress level gets there, it may last 5, and then you put 50 grand to a coating that should be lasting 10 to 12, should likely spend another 10 grand to blast completely, get that all off, and then paint, starting new again on the exterior. But you've got at least one more, and probably that's it. So those are things that we would keep you in front of you so that you're aware of those, and timing wise and things like that. I'm going to guess there's lead-based paint on that, which now you have to have containment. Obviously you may want containment being downtown anyhow. Containment is very expensive.
What are you saying after this coat, that at that point, a new tower?
We're not addressing the exterior of the sidewall, the belly, or that part is not getting recoated. Just the interior and a brand new roof that obviously would get coated interior and exterior, and then those few accessories repairs. That's where the 98 and change came from.
Jamie, do you have copies of that 98-625 thing that he's talking about?
Of the 98-620.
The June, what did you say?
July 2nd.
Yeah, I thought I forwarded it on to you guys. Did it not?
No.
Did you get, okay. Just kidding.
Not that I remember.
Okay.
There's a time where when you start involving containment, lead-based paint and stuff like that, there's a time that you may consider or at least evaluate a new water tower at that time. I would say that, you know, a 50, let's say you go back with a 50 or 75,000 gallons, maybe because of current conditions, current standards, AWWA wise, you know, you'd have to submit for fire flow and that. You're talking $650,000 for a new water tower of that capacity, and that's if you have good soil conditions and everything. That doesn't include other engineering costs and things that you would, you know, obviously have to go to. Obviously, your guys' time in going through that process, whether you could get any, you know, funding, state revolving, what have you. But those are times where you start to think about that, because now you've got roughly a $65,000 coating today that you're going to have to do, let's say, if you do the exterior, the rest of the exterior should probably be done in the next 3 years. So you go 10 to 12 years after that, so in roughly 15 years, you know, that 65,000 is obviously more, and containment today is anywhere from 80 to 100,000. Those are the times where you start to consider a new water tower. With a new water tower, maintenance doesn't go away, but
I guess my biggest thing, guys, is that whatever we're gonna do, they need to be apples to apples, these bids, because right now they're not even remotely close to being apples to apples. So this is what you're recommending.
I mean, that's kind of a minimum, I guess, is what I see. Again, addressing your interior, which there's corrosion, some pittings, some things that you don't know is when you start blasting, obviously we're replacing a roof, but when you start blasting, pitted areas, you can put holes in the tank as well. Most of the time those can be repaired with a filler. Doesn't add a lot to the cost, anywhere from about $2,500 to maybe $4,500. But if there's areas where there is more aggressive corrosion, maybe steel plate has to be brought in and, and things like that. So, but you don't know that until you can start blasting on the interior. But that should be, I mean, that's going to be pretty, I mean, if there is some severe pitting and there's some holes or pitting that needs to be filled, I mean, you're, again, 2,500 to maybe 7,500 at the most that would add to it. But at least I'd like to let you guys know that ahead of time, that those types of things can happen when you're blasting steel, and we can't, just visually, we can't see how deep those pits are and things.
Your price is for a new roof, right?
Yeah, yeah. And again, we do that in-house. No negative sell in regards to Viking or who else ever. I mean, they're not a manufacturer, so they would have to get that roof from someone else. They don't manufacture them, where we do that in-house. And again, obviously, if you wanted me to finalize up the scope of work and get it to you by tomorrow or whatever, if you guys feel that there is an urgency to get that roof replaced this year, then I could get you something in the next day or two. If that's something you would want to, call a special meeting or whatever, move forward with, we can get that done yet this year. But as we slip into next week and that, we cover roughly 30, 35 states. We got sales guys out there everywhere, and orders are always coming in. So I couldn't, as we slip further, I don't know when my cutoff date would be to guarantee you that we could get that done, but I know today we can get that done this year. And with that many holes in it, I guess in my recommendation, I think it's a priority, but that's me. And I don't know if you guys have seen those. I mean, the photos and how many holes are in there. I mean, in my deal, I showed some of that on the interior.
What did you say this was gonna get painted? I mean, just the inside of it, basically?
Interior, and then new roof. That's where the painting would be. And then on the new roof, there's going to be a new roof vent that meets KDHE, a new access hatch that meets KDHE, ladder that meets OSHA.
I know you won't know probably right off the bat, but what would it cost to finish painting just that whole thing on the outside?
Roughly another 45. Yeah.
But in your opinion, this is kind of a...
Well, I think the roof.
I mean, if we get the interior and the roof, well, I guess down the road, you said...
I believe you can get a few more years out of the exterior, of the legs and the belly and the sidewall. Yes.
So you think in the next 10 years we're going to have another project with all of that?
Well, I think you should address the rest of the exterior coating in roughly 3 years, and then based off of again our 100+ years of experience and National Association of Corrosion Engineers in regards to life expectancy of field applied coatings. It's a 100% field applied coating. It roughly gives you a 10 to 12 year life expectancy. And so
And what do you do at that point?
at that point,
Replacement?
I believe you're done overcoating, because your mill thickness is going to be in the low 20s. And again, if you put another 4 or 5 mils on there, that stress, you may pay $60,000, $65,000, and you may only get 5 years out of it. To me, that would be, the risk level is too high, in my opinion, and you should blast and recoat. Obviously, if this has lead on it, you're talking containment. Now maybe you consider a new tower. Those are decisions for you guys, but I think that's a time where a lot of people start to at least evaluating a new tower versus putting that much money into a 100+ year old water tower. That, quite honestly, is structurally is in good condition.
Your plan is for the next 10 years we would spend like $246,000. I just hate to spend $246,000 when a new water tower is $600,000. You're gonna have to put more work into it in 15 years.
Well, and
60,000.
yeah, so roughly, you could just call it 100, and then another 45 for the rest of it, so there's 145,000. And again, in another 10 to 12 years, you would need to address the exterior. Interiors typically provide a 15-year life. And obviously, the information I'm giving, the data I'm giving, is based off of effective maintenance practices, best practices to get the most effective life out of that water tower. Not everybody follows those. But if you want the tower to last as long as it possibly can at the most economical amount, following best practices is the way to go. And in a maintenance program, that happens because the risk and liability of that water tower is now on us and off of you. That's a strong benefit for a maintenance program, regardless if it's a new tower or if it's a 100-year-old one. I mean, a new one, again, maintenance you're going to see for a new one, again, it doesn't go away. It's the most economical time to get on a maintenance program is when the tank's obviously either been just renovated or when it's brand new. You're going to get somewhere around a 22-year life expectancy probably out of the interior coating, and roughly about 17 to maybe 20 on the exterior, because some of that coating, the primer in that, was all done in manufacturing facility with controlled environments. After that, depending on your coating system, the type, coatings are advancing all the time. Maybe there are coatings that are going to give more in that 20-year life, interior and exterior as well. So there's a lot of things to consider, but there is still maintenance, obviously, with a new water tower as well. And when you do a new water tower, of that capacity, I would highly recommend a single pedestal, golf ball on a tee style, less square footage, no legs, no angles, less angles, less edges, where corrosion obviously starts first. So that's the most economic. It costs 5 to 10% more initially versus a legged tank of that size. But by far, maintenance-wise, would be in your best interest.
Well, I don't think with all this new information, there's any way we're voting tonight
True.
on approving anything, in my opinion. But I agree with everything he's got on here for what I guess you call the bare minimum. I totally agree. It needs addressed in a timely fashion.
The question on your cost schedule, was this something you just put together? I mean, you're saying 98,000 to do the repairs, but you've got for the next 4 years, 40,000.
That particular one you're looking at there, that is the maintenance program, because it looks like it's a 10-year schedule.
Right.
Yeah, that's the maintenance program.
But the first 4 years, you got 43,000 on there.
That's correct. So that's
Does
basically...
that figure in replacing the roof, the 98,000?
Yeah, that's taking into consideration everything. When we're going to take the risk and liability of the water tower, we're going to make sure everything is up to code, OSHA, safety, KDHE, and everything. So that includes, even though you say, well, we don't really want to do that. Well, when we're taking the risk and liability, we're going to do it. Obviously, we spread the cost out. We can do the same thing on the 98, or if you wanted to go ahead and do the rest of the exterior, we can still spread those costs out in a contract for services. You say, hey, well, we can't afford 100,000, but we could afford 30,000, 30,000, however it would need to fit within your budget, we can make that work. We can spread those costs out.
Do you have a breakdown of where these first 4 years of 43, 10-9, where this 10-year cost schedule comes from, how we arrive at those numbers?
Yeah, so based off the assessment we did, we look at the square footage of the tank.
Right.
And we also look at the needs for the tank, and we develop the scope of work.
Right.
And a schedule. So the schedule, we got exterior renovation, interior wet, and the steel work, which would be including the roof. So in this scenario, we've got everything being done in the first year, which we estimate somewhere is, with a new roof and that, it's somewhere in the $170,000 roughly, what we call upfront renovations.
Yep.
And then we put some base fees in there, there's inspection, all your inspections are in there, and the emergency is in there, and I just took a number and said 4 years. Again, we can make that 5, we can make it 3, we can do it whatever, so that's where that comes from. And then once that is complete, then you go to what we call a base fee. So you're paying for future paintings.
Right.
You're paying for any future changes that KDHE says, that they say, hey, in 2029, this is not a compliant roof vent, you have to replace that. We have to come out, we replace it, and that cost doesn't change.
Right.
So now you're on a maintenance fee.
Right.
Obviously, so you never get to that $100,000 or $150,000. All of a sudden, it's there. You're always paying for that, and the condition of the tower is kept in its current condition right now. It will not degrade any. Based off of best practices, we're required to do that. So
I was just curious if you had this contract for service, limited maintenance, if you had this drawn up with the full meal deal, this cost schedule plan that I could look at, just like this, with this number breakdown. Do we have a copy of that, anybody?
I did not give on the contract for service.
Yeah, this cost schedule where you give it the $170,000. I'd like to look at this version with when it says 176 on the bottom. Do we have?
Okay.
I apologize, I swore I forwarded it to you guys.
So you would like to see
Basically.
Yeah, I just like to
Everything
see how
done
we
in the top.
arrived at these numbers. You know, where this 43,361 for the first 4 years, and then 11, basically 11.
So what you want me to do is give you the exact, what we call
Well,
upfront renovation
Yeah,
costs.
how do we
Yep.
arrive at the 176, where we
Right.
go from 98,
Yeah.
625 to 176? What's the difference? I mean, obviously painting it, or the legs, or the ladder, or all the things, but I mean, the breakdown.
Well, the biggest difference is obviously one's a maintenance program
Right.
and one's not.
Right, I agree.
So on the contract for services, we give a 2-year warranty. So the 98,000, we come in, we do the work, you say, here's your money, we warranty for 2 years, and we're done.
Right.
On the maintenance program, obviously, that risk and liability is now less, so there's more cost involved with that. I guess we list that out as far as the scope of work. I could break out pricing of what interior cost is, exterior cost is, and the different repairs are.
Right, I wouldn't mind seeing that, I guess
Okay.
that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
But this Viking was doing the 5-year plan, wasn't it?
Well, when you say a 5-year plan, they're gonna spread the costs out for 5 years? Yeah. Like I said, that is totally up to you. I just picked a number 4. I don't care if it's 5 or it's 3.
Apples to apples.
Yeah.
I hate having issues when they're not apples to apples.
I guess to me, that number is more important, go ahead, that number is more important to you, based off of your budget. I just picked a number, and I guess maybe Rick did too, I have no idea. But that number is more important to you. What can you afford, or how do you want to do it, really? I mean, I can give you a 5 number. I don't know if that's best for you or not. You know, I obviously, I don't see your budget and what all you have on there, but so I think,
I'd probably like to listen to Viking. He could stick around, and then we can decide what we want them to bid at that point, once we listen to Viking's deal, is my opinion.
And have them come back in after? Yeah, that sounds better.
Yeah. I'd be fine with that.
I would like to see a breakdown, if you wouldn't mind, on that.
yeah,
Uh,
I can sure give that to you. I mean, if that's something you guys are, I guess, is strongly considering, and you believe there's value in a maintenance program, I'd be more than happy to do it.
Well, I guess we were thinking we were considering it on the other.
Yeah.
I guess here would be my dilemma in regards to that. I'm hearing new tower talk over here. You get on the maintenance program and you're starting to, which a maintenance program doesn't include, the containment.
My biggest thing, because the other guy never mentioned anything about any extra coats after one, like that it's not doable, you're saying?
I'm just saying the thickness, I took mill thickness testing, and you're in that 18, high teens. Again, you put another coating system on, there's a point, and I know Rick knows this. Just because he didn't mention it doesn't mean, he wasn't trying to not disclose it to you or anything.
Well, it's one of those things we'll pay for the maintenance program, and when the 10 years hits and the paint starts going to crap, you're gonna be pushing for a new tower at that point. wouldn't you?
No, we're gonna be pushing you to blast. Then you're gonna have to come up with the $80,000 to $100,000 to tin it. Because we wouldn't wanna put a coating on there that we don't have a high trust that it's gonna perform very well.
When you give your bids, like if you run into issues on the inside with corrosion and stuff, do you guys eat that cost or is that extra? Like is your bid?
In the MP, there is indemnification in there that indicates, hey, if we can't see it, we don't know it's there. So that's why I gave you we've probably done,
7,500.
yeah, we've done 10 to 15 of them over the last 12 months, and that's kind of where they've all been. I just was, if you're on a maintenance program, I guess I would have to have, if I'm in your position, I would have to have a comfort level that this tower's gonna be ours for a while. And it's structurally sound. I'm just saying you've got a big expense coming up in regards to blasting and containment. The containment is the big ticket. The blasting only adds another 10 grand maybe.
So what's it typically take to contain for containment?
Oh, it's a full tent. Yeah,
Cost-wise?
yeah. Oh, cost-wise? Yeah, 80 to 100.
Just for the containment?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, to set that all up and purchase that and set it up, yeah. And then there's obviously, there's disposal. KDHE does not allow open blasting, as far as with lead, paint. So that we have to contain it, we have to dispose of it properly.
Regardless, if a person does it right at the 10, 12-year mark, we're looking at a lot of money at that point. Quite a bit.
After this, yeah,
After the exterior.
Yeah. your roof's gonna be great.
Yeah.
But you might.
It's gonna be new.
Factors too.
He's saying he's pretty confident with this paint for 10 to 12. But
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
But
So-
there's a possibility that
So that
you
fee
could have
could-
enough thickness on there that it decides that it doesn't want to hold and starts coming loose.
We're not worried about it this time. And we're gonna give a 2-year warranty. Typical is 1, and most coatings are gonna last you 1. We're gonna give 2. But we're confident we're fine this time. Or in 3 years, I believe still you got another 3 years. But after that is when we would say, hey, if you want us to do it, we'll do it, but we're gonna tell you, hey, we can't guarantee this. You may have to blast this in 5 or 6 years because coating's coming off of it. Because of adhesion issues, because of the stress of the weight of all that coating on the base coat.
But I think for the short term, we're looking at roof and interior, that $98,000 figure, probably are gonna have to do that, I guess, as far as I'm concerned. For sure the roof. So, we just need to weigh the options between,
I guess what I want to do is listen to Viking, see what his recommendation was and what the cost was, to where we can pull them both in and tell them that they need to quote apples to apples, is my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's a fun idea.
Okay, at this time, Mr. Grant, we'll have Mr. Penner come in,
Yep.
and we'll talk with him, and then we'll call you both back in.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
That's just what they were supposed to have. They've got, they pay the inside of the soda. That's the reason inside of the soda.
Okay, Mr. Penner.
Well, thanks for letting me be here, everybody. And you know, when I was here a month ago, my name is Rick Penner. I work for Viking Industrial Painting. I live in Heston. And my company is based out of Omaha, Nebraska. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing again. I know you guys are probably wore out from all of it and trying to figure it all out. But what I did was I gave Jamie kind of a letter today, just kind of describing our company and how we approach doing business and things like that, that I'd encourage you to read. I mean, I'd like to kind of go through it a little bit if we could, just real quickly, and just point out the high points and then answer any questions you might have. You know, as far as our approach, I mean, we are a Midwestern company, and that's where we intend to stay. We work primarily in the maintenance market. We work primarily in Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, and now we've got a new guy working in Oklahoma and Arkansas. And Viking's been around since 2003. It's been under new ownership since then, but we've been highly successful. We probably did $20 million as a company last year and are doing really well and making a really good name for ourselves all across the Midwest. All we do is maintenance on water towers. We don't do, you know, some companies get into all kinds of other things too. We don't do that. We just do water towers because we just do maintenance on water towers because that's what we want to be the best at. One thing that separates us a little bit is in our approach is that we use in-house crews to do our work. We don't do it 100%, but I can safely say that at least 90% of the projects we do, we use our employees. A lot of other people use subcontractors to do all their work and, you know, beat them up and go to the lowest bidder. And honestly, we did some of that to start with, and it just didn't work very good for us. It's not the model that we wanted to do. So we are moving more and more to using our own crews. We have 11 crews that we use, and they're from all over the place, but that's our intent on how we do work on tanks. I'll just let you go through this. I have written down here qualified employees. Just kind of letting you know, we have a lot of experience in our company. And I just wrote down a few people. I wrote myself, and I wrote Adam because he would be the project manager involved if we were to do anything with you guys. These would be the contacts that matter to you. The only one I didn't include that would matter to somebody would be Serena. She's our controller. She does all the billing and all of the paperwork stuff. So, and I'll just let you kind of read through that and what our approach is there. And, you know, after visiting with Jason and Jamie and Pam, and, you know, I kind of put this thing together on painting the exterior of the tank, and I think that's an important part of this. There's different ways to do it. And, you know, when I was here last time, we discussed using this elastomeric coating on it rather than just putting another coat of aluminum on it and watch it fall off. And I included, I'll just let you pass these around if that's okay. You probably have all these, but I mean, that's what's a lot of the surface on the leg. I mean, the shell and the bowl, they don't look bad. The roof obviously needs to be replaced, but the shell and the bowl don't look bad, but the legs are. And it's just going to continue to be a constant problem where it's going to keep getting worse over time. The other area that I bring up are the ladders. And if you look at this picture of the interior ladder, if you look at the second step down, it's just about gone. OSHA says that ladders should be 16 inches wide You have 2 3/8 inch flat bar on the sides, have a 12-inch step, and they need to be attached to the tank. And you need to have at least 7 inches of toe space. And if I can get these pictures the right way here. You've got 5 inches of toe space, you got 13-inch width, and you've got a sectional ladder that's out there and off the balcony. So I included putting ladders on the tank because it's the right thing to do for safety reasons. And for future, yeah, you don't have to do it, but at some point somebody's probably going to make you do it. So that's why I want to do it now. When you're doing all these other renovations, you got a steel crew here doing it. Now's the time to do it. And then you won't have to worry about it. I want to get it all up to speed. I'm also putting a walkthrough at the balcony, which is another OSHA thing. One thing I didn't bring up, it's got the handrail's got that X bracing on it, which is good because a lot of them have kind of a A-frame brace on it, which leaves a huge opening, which if you've ever walked around a tank on a balcony, when you see that big opening, right, it's weird. You just feel like you could slide right through there. You can see how it happened. So when that happens, we usually put a flat bar on there, but because of the design of yours being the X-brace, that's good. OSHA says the handrail should be 42 inches. Yours is 36. I mean, that's one of those things that if it were mine, I wouldn't spend the money on that just because I feel safe when I'm up there. I mean, just practically speaking. The ladders is something that I think when people are climbing up and down ladders, and I guess I'm sensitive because I climb 2 or 3 tanks a week. And if you climb a tank, the ladder is pretty darn important. So anyway, the other thing that I'll point out is, you know, we were changing the color with the elastomeric coating on the outside. And that's the way to handle that peeling paint. If you remember last time I was here, I kind of described it. It's kind of like this primer is a mastic primer and it's extremely flexible. It's what I use when I feel like I can't paint a tank the way I want to paint a tank. You know what I mean? Because you have lead on your tank and you can't just blast it. And this isn't a great sample. It just shows you the flexibility of it. It's obviously not this thick when it's applied. But what it does is kind of wrap it and encapsulate that peeling paint, and we've had a lot of success with it on tanks like that. And if you want to change the color of the tank, it's the only way to do it, and do it right. Aluminum, either a tank needs to stay aluminum, or you paint it this way if you want to change it a color. And to me, there's no other options in doing it that way. And the reason I would change it now is because of the condition of the legs. And it gives you an opportunity. We're going to be putting a new roof on it, or somebody is, and you know, you can paint the roof right, and then the rest of the tank's not. I mean, that doesn't make much sense to me. So that's why I was looking at that. And I don't know, did Jamie, I put some renderings together, some drawings together. I don't know, I've got copies. Here I said I wasn't going to say much, and I keep talking. I'm sorry, guys and ladies.
Is that the one you sent out?
Well, I think so.
We only got one for Viking, didn't we? Oh, yeah, you sent this to us.
These? You guys see these?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Are these the same amount of money for these two, or?
Yeah, it would be. I mean, it helps a lot having one color versus two, because it cuts a day out, you know. So those are my ideas on it that could be changed. I mean, the logo is not going to make a lot of difference as long as it's one color. And it costs more to change the lettering that's up there, because we have to buy stencils and place them and do all that kind of thing. If we were to just paint the tank aluminum like it is, put another coat of aluminum on it, and do the lettering, that would obviously be less. I'm cutting out an entire labor step by priming the whole tank the way I am, and material, and I'm also would be cutting out the stencils and the logo. So,
How much more is it, I guess, when we're changing up the lettering?
Um,
Just curious.
maybe, I mean, the lettering, changing just the lettering is probably, I don't know, $3,000? Not that much.
Take the 3,000.
It's not that much. Changing up the coating system is probably 10 to 15 grand. I mean, it's a whole nother going over the tank, you know. That changes the price, but I just think it's the right thing to do for the tank. And the ladders, they're not cheap. But the time to do it is when you're already here doing work. And so that's how I look at it. Another thing that I would say that my company does is we always use a zinc primer on the interior wet of the tank. Most of my competitors, no, almost none of my competitors do, because unless they know we're doing it and then they want to be competitive on it. But I'm a coatings guy, so I want to do the right thing. So essentially what you're doing is you're galvanizing the inside of that tank. I mean, we're spraying an organic zinc primer on the inside and wrapping the whole thing in, it's almost like galvanizing. It's galvanic protection. It's cathodic protection for the tank, essentially. So it helps it last longer. It gives a better surface. Our guys like using it. It's very quick. And then we come back with epoxy coats over that. And it's just it's a better way. It's an extra step. It's an extra labor step, but it's so worth it. I mean, it does help that our guys really like using it, but it also helps the tank, especially when you have a riveted tank where you got sheets of steel on there that are laps, so you got corners, you got edges, that kind of thing. That's what we want to protect. And I would absolutely blast, and there's only one way to paint the interior, and that's to blast it all off and start over, and that's where you'd use the zinc. But I would definitely use the zinc on the roof, of course. Now's your chance to get it right if you're going to put a new roof on the tank. So using the zinc primer, epoxy on the underside, urethane on the top side, because especially if it's going to be blue, it's going to chalk and fade. I mean, you need to use, I mean, it's literally, 4 gallons of paint. Why wouldn't you spend the money? Why wouldn't you spend another $200 and get a good product on there rather than just buying whatever's cheapest? I tell you guys, drive around and look at every red top tank out there, or every green top tank. They put industrial enamel on there as little as they can, and that red is pink in 6 months. And I'm a paint guy. I notice this stuff. Most people don't. But those are little things that contractors do to save money. And I don't understand why, because it's just as easy to give somebody something good. You just got to get your message across.
What is it, your expectancy for the exterior and interior paint to last expectancy?
Riveted tanks typically on the interior get painted more often than welded ones. I would say 10 to 15 years. Typically. And the outside, I would say probably in the same range, somewhere in there. Now, I think the roof will probably last a little long. Everybody's idea when a tank needs to be painted is different. The other option you would have, and I know we've all been explaining the full service maintenance program where we take care of your tank. Well, that's a good thing to do for a lot of small towns because tanks are better taken care of. And the cleaning is there, and the responsibility, the shift of responsibility is shifted from you to us. It's peace of mind. Essentially that's what it is. You could go another route. You could say, okay, let's just pick a time frame, 5 years, 6 years, whatever it is, 4 years, and we accomplish all this work during that time to try and get the cost of it spread out so it's more manageable. That's another way to look at it. And then at that time, then you have to start over doing the same things you've been doing. Okay? That would be the other way to look at it. And we just call that a contract for service, where we have a specified time. It would save you some money because say we paint the outside of the tank in the second year. Well, as soon as it's painted, we got to start planning to do it in the future so that some fees are plugged into that formula, okay? Does that make sense? So it would save money in that 5 years, but if you look at it over the long term, if we're going to paint, if the tank gets painted again in 12 years, you're probably money ahead with the maintenance program. Typically, when I do the exercise of figuring out the costs, it's usually pretty close, but most of the time, if I figure in that 12 to 13, even the 13-year range, I can usually prove that the maintenance program will save you money over time. And the other thing it does is, hey, if we screw up, we gotta fix it. There's no more of this contractor 1-year warranty stuff, you know? In the maintenance program, you gotta fix it. It's our responsibility. The thing you might think about is, if you want to get into the maintenance program, the time to get out of it is in the last year, because we can back out those fees. It would essentially turn it into a CS. If you're not happy with it, you can get out whenever you guys want. All we want to do is get paid for the work that we do. Does that make sense? I mean, that would give you an option to get out. But we don't want to hold anybody. When you call it a contract, I don't want to beat anybody up. If somebody doesn't want me, I don't want to be here. I want to do the best job I can and prove ourselves. And, you know, if people don't like it, I say, fine. Well, we're done with it. But we want to be paid for what we've done, would be the point of that. Does that help?
Remind me, what was your service contract per year? I don't have a figure.
Well, the way I set it up was over 5 years. The first 5 years was $40,000 under the maintenance program. And then I think in year 6, it starts, then the fees start. So then I think it was $8,900, if I remember right. And then it's $8,900 for 3 years. And then at the end of that 3 years, basically what we do is, I mean, I'll just tell you, I mean, we raise our price 10% every 3 years. The contract states that you can raise it up to 5% every year. We do 3.3%. The only reason we have 5% in there is in case something crazy happens, you know, with the world or, I mean, fuel prices or whatever. But that's how we do it. And I brought contracts along for you guys to look at if you'd like. But I just want to, I have no idea, I mean, the coating system makes a difference in the price, for sure. I mean, it's probably 15 grand different, plus the logo. So you're at between 15 and 20 grand different in the different coating system. But I just think it's the right thing to do for the tank. So I'm not about being the cheapest. I don't want to do that. I want to do what I think's right. That's the best I can do.
If we use this coating, this acrylic, how does that affect it for when you want to blast that off? We talked about eventually. Does that blast off just like paint, worse, better?
That's a great question. That's the same thing I said. Because it's really flexible. You can see when you blast it, it would be a bear. I don't think that you'll ever have to blast it. I mean, that's the answer that I've gotten from the manufacturer, from the head of tech service. His point is, if it needs to be taken off, we can put another coat on. It's that flexible.
You can go to the top of it.
Yeah. I can put any coating system over the top of this stuff, okay? But I'm limited on so I could put the Cadillac, I mean, the best product we use on any water tank, it costs $375 a gallon, but it lasts. But I can't do that on your tank because of the lattice and the design, and I mean, I just don't think it's worth it in the long run to do it that way. If I'm blasting the tank, I'm like, yeah, absolutely. But to blast your tank, which can be done, I mean, we do it. I mean, I could show you, my company just won an award, an SSPC, which is Steel Structure Painting Council. national award last year for doing a tank exactly like yours. And we blasted it all the way down. We should show you a picture of it. It looks like $1 million. But you're going to add $100,000 to $120,000 to the price tag to contain it. Doesn't make sense in the long run. Your tank will last forever if you take care of it. I mean, somebody obviously hasn't taken care of the roof because it's got holes. It's bad. And I think if you guys remember, I shared with you last time I was here the tank we did in Jansen, Nebraska. Remember I showed you the pictures of it and all that? I would love for you guys to call them and ask them how we did. And I also have a whole list of references of people in Kansas that we've done work for. I'd love for you to call them. So I know anybody can give good references, right? I mean, let's face it. Huh?
No, I have common sense. We've been dealing with him a long time.
I mean, I have common sense. I mean, duh. But I would still like for you to call them if you can. I mean, Jansen would be a perfect one because it's the same job as yours, essentially. That's what I loved about that happening. I kept telling the guy who was doing it, I said, you need to get me the information on that job because I have a place that's the same situation that you went through there.
What is your time frame?
I mean, we do work. I think the way I set it up was trying to get a payment. I mean, let's face it, we're going to do a ton of dollars of work and not get paid for it for a while. So my idea, and I asked Jamie about this too, would be to get a payment this year, and then we do the work next spring or next year. And then when that payment gets paid, then that would be the anniversary date for the next payment. That way we could get a little bit of a head start on it.
You would do all the work up front?
No. I would wait and do some of the work later, but I'll just tell you guys, sometimes what happens is, sometimes I get asked, hey, maybe we're already there, maybe we should go ahead and do it. I have to do that to try and spread the costs so we're not so far upside down. So I can show my boss that I'm not $100,000 in debt on a job for 2 years. But here's the benefit to doing it that way. You're getting 2 more years of service life out of that just keeps rolling. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
I think last time when you were here, you said between 175 and 200,000.
Yep.
Was that to do everything?
That was everything.
And that was spread out over 5 years?
Well, what I did is I spread that out. I spread the work out. I did the exterior and the steel work and the roof and all that. All the welding, all that stuff would be done in year 2. What I would call year 2, which would be next year. And then, so we get a payment this year. Year 2, do that work. Year 3, we do an inspection, a visual inspection like I've been doing for you. And then year 4, I hope my memory's right here. I think I'm real close. Year 4, we do the interior of the tank. The roof's already been done, essentially. It won't take that long. But it's just an added cost that I can spread out a little bit. That's how it was set up. So you would get a visual inspection. The way I set it up was a clean out and inspection every 3 years is included, and a visual inspection is included every year that we're not doing a clean out. Somebody's going to climb your tank every year. That's the point. It's a good idea. It's called preventative maintenance. And, and it allows us, and I'm going to be the guy writing the reports, and I know your tank, so that helps me a lot in writing your reports. Because we have multiple crews. Some guys do a better job than other guys at taking pictures, so I know what to look for on your tank. That's what I like about you guys being so close to me, too. It allows me to do a better job. But that's all part of the maintenance program. I mean, we're responsible for that. The one thing, and I think I told you this last time I was here, the one thing that we cannot control is that fill pipe. I don't want to blindside you with anything and tell you that is the one thing that is not part of the maintenance. If something happens to your fill pipe, we got the capability to fix it, and you'll get priority about getting it fixed, because it's an emergency. But I can't control that. That's something that we can't control. Unless you let me replace it, but I don't think you want to do that until you have to. I mean, you've got an old cast iron, small diameter fill pipe. It's obviously worked for a long time, so. But that would be the one thing that wouldn't be part of it. Other than if a tornado knocked it over or something, I don't think we'd be responsible for that either. What?
Tornadoes can't come here.
They can't. Jerry says so? It doesn't happen. That's what happened where I lived in 1993. I don't remember what year the tornado came through Heston, and it buggered up our water tank pretty bad. They ended up taking it down after that.
Council, have any other questions or comments?
I guess my only thing is, we just have a rough guess of 175 to 200,000, right? I mean, you haven't really given us a breakdown of what.
Well, all I did was give you a price for the maintenance program. I didn't give you a price just to do all the work and get it done, which I can.
And I would like to see that.
I'd like to see a breakdown and then,
Okay.
I guess, spread it out over 5 years. Or-
You mean doing the CS thing where at the end of that 5 years and it's not part of the maintenance program?
Option A,
Okay.
option B. Well, what is it we can afford? Did you come up with that number from earlier? What is it?
I gave them the 40,000.
I mean, that's what I'm at.
That's how we did it last.
40,000,
We talked about that
yeah.
last month.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, if it can fit 5 years.
I mean, the only other thing is if you want me to change anything, if you want me to use a different coding system or whatever, I think what we're doing is super cool. And, I mean, it shows that your town is moving forward, not backward. You know what I mean?
I'd just like to see
Don't say it
a
again.
breakdown of it.
No, I'm serious. It's like, I went through the same exercise at Pretty Prairie. And they were trying to decide if they wanted to build a new tank or not. And, I mean, they're spending $1 million doing it, but they decided they wanted a new tank because they want to show the community they're moving forward. And I'm saying this is kind of the same thing, just in a little different way. You can build a new tank too, but that's a lot more. I think we can fix yours up and we put a new roof on that tank, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I think the paint sounds good to me.
I just don't want to put myself into a box when you guys are trying to make decisions. I want to do what you guys want and what you think's best for you. I mean, that's what my job is, and that's the hard part about my job is having this conversation like we are. It's really, really hard for me to get in front of people and have that conversation because everybody's busy.
Okay, Council, have anything else?
I'd like to see those two, just what Marshall and I were talking about. I'd like to see, I guess, what I call option A for the maintenance program, and then option B for the CNS.
I'll put it on a spreadsheet for you so you can look at each one side by side and see what you think.
Yeah.
Okay, would you like to bring in
And I'll-
Mr. Grant in?
and then I'll
So we
put
could, kind of let them know what we want so they can come back at next council meeting? Would that be fine?
Yeah,
And if they don't want to,
I don't even know if they need to come back. I mean, I want figures of what it's gonna, what the roof costs, what the paint costs, what the railing, the ladders,
Oh.
interior.
Oh, you want a detailed list?
I'd like to know what the detail is of each thing, and then I'd like to see what it's 5 years.
That's the detailed thing. The thing I need to impress upon you is that I can do that, but it's kind of hard to do because if you start doing an a la carte thing, I can't do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Do what?
A la carte, like, okay, we want to, I understand what you're saying. But what I'm saying is, if you just say, oh, we just want to do the ladders, or we want to do the ladders, and then in 2 years we want to do, well, then things change, because I got to mobilize every time to do it.
Well,
definitely.
quite honestly, I don't really care about that because, I mean, you're gonna put it, I just want to know what each thing costs.
Okay.
Just for my peace of mind.
Okay.
So I know, we're spending 40,000 on the interior, and whatever on the outside, whatever it may be.
Yep.
My biggest thing is I want to see what it costs for 5 years to do all that work, what's gonna cost us every year, and then along with a maintenance.
And what I'll do on the maintenance program is, I'll forecast it out to 12 or 13 years, and then I'll say, I'll take the exact same paint number that I used, and then I'll just add 3% per year or whatever to that, and add that on there so you can look at that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That way you can see, okay, in 12 years or whatever, we're gonna repaint the tank, this is what it's gonna cost. And I'll make a whole column all for that, so you guys can see what the future looks like doing it that way too. If that'll help.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry I took long.
That's quite all right.
I'm still gonna give my references to Jamie. Well, I'll just give this one. Thank you.
Contact address. Thank you. Okay, council, we just want to let both the gentlemen know, well, he knows already, what we want. So, again, let Mr. Grant know what we'd like for him to bring to council or send to Jamie so that he can present it to council. Primarily, basically what we told you earlier, just a breakdown of it. Council members may have a little bit more detail on that, if you would, please.
Well, I just think that everything needs to be the same as, as biking as well. I mean,
Yeah,
getting
you
it
need
quote.
apples to apples.
Yeah.
So that's the scope of work that you would like to see.
Yeah, like when I was on this cost schedule on this maintenance program, how the 10-year program, what that entails in detail and itemization of how we arrive at these numbers and how everything broke down, I guess,
Okay?
That's what I would like.
And-
Listed and itemized, I guess, in
And you want that
as
with
much
a,
detail as possible.
with a 5-year spread, a 4-year spread? What fits your budget?
I think somewhere sticking around that $40,000 mark is, you're at 43, and I think we should stay with that, I guess, my opinion.
Okay?
Everybody else okay with that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds good.
Yeah. But
You want them itemized?
the 98,000 was basically the roof, correct?
And the interior?
And the
And
interior.
the accessories and the repairs that go with that as well?
I guess my only thing is Viking is saying, the railing and ladders and the walkthrough all need to be up to OSHA standards. So I guess if we're having one company bid it that way, we need you to bid it the same way.
I don't disagree. I can tell you that most people do that as their budget allows. It's not something, obviously, KDHE hadn't come or OSHA hadn't come and said, hey, you need to do that right now. I definitely agree it needs to be done. It needs to be done on your schedule and as your budget allows. If you want to include it in here, that's perfectly fine.
I just think while we're doing it, if we're gonna put it on a 5-year schedule, we might as well get it all. It may not be the first priority that we need to look at, but, and then painting and the logo as well.
Yeah, you can take these with you. It's kind of what, or unless you want to come up with something, I guess, but to paint the exterior as well.
Oh, so you're wanting like a different color scheme or, okay? Yeah, we can do whatever you want.
Yeah. Well, did you guys like these?
Yeah,
I'm not opposed to it.
So if you want to take these and see what,
Okay?
He had kind of recommended doing like a white bottom with a blue top,
Okay?
like
Yeah.
the roof being blue.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's not, I think I sent you a number of same style of towers that we've done in the last 12 months that kind of have all kinds of different color schemes. So, yeah, we definitely can do that. And are you also wanting to see a contract for services, or are you just considering a maintenance program?
I think we'd actually like to see both,
Okay,
is
Yeah.
my opinion.
okay.
And
So-
kind of like I asked the other guys, I would like to see a breakdown of what, like the new roof costs, what just the painting costs, the railing, the ladders. And it's not necessarily, but I'd just like to know what each breakdown is of the cost.
Definitely not a problem. I can break that all out. That way you can pick and choose and say, you know what? The railing's not a priority for us right now. We're not going to do that. Or
It's not a problem to start cutting things out.
it's your water tower. It's your water tower. I'm going to give you everything, one that you've asked for, what we would recommend as well, and help you make a good decision.
So if we went ahead and went with you, and all the work that there is to be done, how do you choose what gets done first, I guess, or do you do it all up front? How do you do that?
Well, based off what you're telling me here, everything would be done in the first year unless, again, it doesn't fit your budget and you would like to do some of this in year 3 or something like that. It's, as I mentioned, the railing, I mean, I'm not saying it needs to meet OSHA. It needs to come up to 42 inches. However, again, those are things when the cost comes, people are like, well, you know, small towns, they don't have a lot of money. We want to do that, but we can't do it this time. We're going to budget for it, and we're going to do it in 5 years or something like that. So, but it sounds like to me, basically you're bringing everything up to code. You're going to go ahead and paint the exterior as well, all of it, and the interior as well.
We at least want to be able to look at it
Okay.
and try to analyze it.
Understand? And on the CS, would you like to see what that cost is, doing everything spread out over 4 years as well?
Yeah,
Okay.
4 or 5.
All right.
Fine with that.
Yeah, I think 5 years, I think is what we,
5 years is what we'd like to see on that.
Okay. And when would you like to have this by? Is this for the next council meeting, or do you meet, I think you meet every 2 weeks, don't you?
So,
Or
yeah,
roughly?
what is it, the 15th? And then we actually have another meeting, the 22nd, so.
So September 15th is kind of when you would like to have this prior to, so you can review and be prepared at council?
Friday before, so you can send it.
Yep. And you're requesting our attendance at that? Okay,
not at the time, no. I don't
Okay.
think so.
If we have questions, we can reach out.
okay. All right. Okay, anything else?
Okay, we appreciate you coming down, Mr. Grant, so thank you very much, and we look forward to looking at your proposal.
Well, thank you very much. Sorry that we took up maybe a
That's okay. It's
lot
about
of your
all right.
time tonight.
All right, thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, moving on to department heads. Electrical department, Jeff.
Well, we've spent a good share of our time helping the guys get the road stuff done so that we can seal this next week for part of it, but, we've staked out a project out west of town to move poles out of the ditch on First Street for the county, which Phil had asked us to do for safety reasons a couple of years ago, and we'd never gotten to it. We've since had it located. The locates of where the poles line up is at right smack dab on top of the phone cable. So I talked to Phil this morning, and we have an 80-foot right-of-way. We're not exactly sure where that edge of that right-of-way is, and so I think, after talking to Philip, that he's going to have Randy Anderson come down and shoot the north side of that, probably till out past the gas plant. And then at that point, we'll know where the north boundary line of that ditch is. He feels like it might be 3 or 4 feet north of that phone line where it's buried. But we have to set it up so that we can line up and tie into the existing line without having to put guys on it to support it one way or the other and keep it straight. So that gets flagged and we'll kind of know where we're at, because I want to hit one of those poles out oh, about where Ross's shop is or somewhere close there and get lined up with them back to the edge of town. So, we'll wait on that deal and see how it comes out. Allen's is all but finished, but I guess we got a wet piece of wire. The guys put, when we terminate that primary, we use a stripping system that there's 2 semiconductors inside of that direct buried cable. And if you get moisture in there anywhere, why, it'll blow it apart when you energize it. And we had that happen twice because one of the guys didn't tape the end of the wire. We tried to repair it the second time and didn't, so I'm waiting on them to drop a piece of wire so I can fish it back in there, and I'll do it myself this time. I've tried to teach twice, it's not working very good, so I'll do it this time. But other than that, it's ready to go. So we ran generators Monday. Everything seemed to be okay. Had all the guys down there when we did it. It's a fairly long process to get it started and get them on and get them back off, but we felt like everything went pretty good that day. So anyway, that's about the gist of what we've been doing.
Jeff, do you feel comfortable making a video?
We did, Jamie did, to a point. I mean, she followed me when I went. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, I'll do it anytime. I'll do it as many times as you want to. My biggest thing is that there are a lot of motions to make, and getting it started is the easy part. It's keeping it on the panel board after you close the breaker, because there's voltage match involved, there's power factor match involved, there's load balance involved to be able to hold 2 things on at the same time. They're just, I mean, it's not one of those things that you can just go and do and get somebody to walk right in and do it after you. There's a lot of time and experience involved in watching what's going on, because you have to see several things at the same time. And I've tried to explain that to those guys doing that, and we'll do it as many times as they want to. But with mechanical governors, there's a power factor balance in there that has to be close to keep the cycles at 60 cycles where they belong. The voltage has to be very close when you close them together, when you open them up. There's just a lot of things involved.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know, I just think it's important for more than one person to learn that.
well, it is, but you have to understand too that it's going to take a long time to teach somebody.
Well, we start tomorrow.
You know, we burn 150 or 200 gallons of diesel every time we do it. We have to have time to do it.
Yeah.
And still get our other work done. So as fall comes in and things kind of slow down a little bit, we'll spend more time doing it. But, you know, it's just takes a long time to do.
Yeah.
So, but I'm willing to spend the time with them that it takes, you know, if somebody's willing to learn. So,
What about your electric project? Is that on First Street? Is that from Gray Street all the way up to Bull?
no, it starts at George Unruh's. There's really, I mean, we could move that other line back. I don't like it where it's at, even if you moved it back. I really think that it should have came out at the alley, but we couldn't do that because of the way the properties lay in there. The only other way we could do it would be to move it to 2nd Street and go North Street through there along the asphalt where we're in between the properties.
But what the county's requiring is.
Is just from the edge of town. He hasn't really said, because, you know, inside of town, I mean, the speed is not there, but once you leave town, then and I think that's his biggest concern.
What's wrong with going underground, Jeff, or have you even thought
Well,
about
there's
that?
not, except it's 3 pieces. I mean, we can do it.
Just
Yeah.
curious.
No, I hadn't even thought about it, to tell you the truth. I mean, you know,
Just an option.
I can figure it. I mean, the poles that I'm gonna stick in are what's on my rack that are 15 years old. I mean, without buying new poles, so you're behind the 8 ball there already. I mean, we'll put new arms and stuff on them, but, no, I'm not against putting it underground, Ryan.
Because there's not gonna be any meters in between.
There's nothing in between there, no.
So you wouldn't have to like stub.
No down guys, no nothing.
Transformer and everything, you just.
No, the first place we have transformers is at the Kansas Fuel plant.
Right, right.
We don't have to line up with anything and tie anything down if we do that. No, I'm not totally against it. Cost about $2.15 a foot per phase for the wire, plus the trenching. So, you know,
Compared to who knows what, overhead, I mean.
I don't know, we got the material except for the arms, that's the difference, I guess, you know, in the time.
Right, right.
I'm just one of them guys, I hate to do this, down, back up, down. Yeah, I mean, we've already got 2 or 3 of those in there, you know.
Right.
I don't know, you know, it's your call, I mean, I'll do whatever you guys want,
I
but,
just didn't know if that would be easier.
I mean, by the time we got done, we had it buried and covered up and everything, we're probably looking at $10 a foot, you know, I'm guessing, so. Because we still have to stub a pole up to go up and to where we come down and then to come back up on the other end, but
How much are we looking at going overhead? I mean, are you gonna be?
we got the material. I don't know, you know, I have the material, so I don't, the only thing I don't have are the cross arms. I'll have $1,000 in cross arms or $1,200 in cross arms.
One thing
Other than that, we have the material.
I guess the one thing I was thinking, Jeff, if you did it underground, maybe you could, not be down so long. Or, I mean, you could do the underground, hook it all up and then terminate it, but, I mean, you do it, so.
Well, the way that we were gonna do it, we'd have a down guide where we could just throw it together with a slack span. So the time that it would be down as far as anybody being off would be minimal.
Right.
You know, a couple hours to pull it and sleep it together. So, you know, a day at the most.
Yeah, well,
I don't know, you know, we wouldn't involve conduit in on there, and conduit on top of that would be fairly expensive, and then having to pull it, you know, if we direct buried it, it wouldn't be a big deal, but,
right.
you know, like we did at the grocery store, we know what kind of a booger that is with the equipment we have to pull it, so. And that kind of footage, we're talking 1,000 or 1,200 feet, it's a pretty good pull, so.
Just thought.
Yeah, and it's a good thought, it really is, but, I don't know. I mean, I can put a cost together, but it's gonna be in the, $12,000 to $15,000 range probably, maybe a little more. Time we put terminations on it and that stuff, we might be 17 or 18, you know. And I can do it considerably less than that because I've got the material. I've got the wire, I've got the insulators, I've got everything but the arms, so.
Anything else, Jeff?
That's all I had.
Okay, anybody else have any questions, comments, or concerns for Jeff?
That Cornwell project out there, putting their poles in and getting the price on some different poles where that underflow.
We stuck one in the other day. We got that one band-aided. Well, we put a new pole in, but we had to take the loader out to get trucks out when we got done.
Right.
But that was another deal too, and I figured burying it underground, because by the time, you know, those poles, I've probably got 7 or 8 that'll go in the next 5 years that are rotted pretty bad, and the underflow's really bad out there. So we talked about, we considered burying it. It'd be about 3/4 of a mile. It'd be about $10,000 to $12,000 to bury it. If we put steel poles in, steel poles are $1,200 a piece. You take 15 of them, I mean, you're talking $30,000 of material. So it'd be way cheaper to bury that one. We put it back inside the fence, stick it underground, and bury it direct. I mean, we just take Davis's trencher and bury it as deep as that boom will go. I've got wiring all over the country out there that's all direct buried with no conduit on it at all, and it's lasted for, well, we've had wire up to English Meadows for 20 years now, and probably at Joe's 15, maybe a little longer, and never had any trouble with it. And there, it would be the right thing to do. We can get about a 3,000 foot reel. We'd have to have one connection point. We'd put it next to the fence, you know, and have it kind of where the cattle didn't bother and that stuff, and go right back down and come up in his driveway. So that's the answer on that one. $2, like I said, I think $2.15 a foot if we buy a reel or 2 reels, you know, so. Be way cheaper to do. Go down right there in the ground, right on the north side of the blacktop, and just take it all the way through there, open the fence up, and go right straight on through and bring it back up, so.
I wonder if a guy could trench that really, but, trench that's gonna fill with water.
Oh, it's soggy.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
serious, I don't even.
You know, best time to do it's probably February.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's gooey, I can tell you, because we got two trucks stuck out there the other day, but we did get that in. And Jason can tell you, there's a lot of clay in the ground, and man, it's gooey, but I mean, it tamps in, that pole will be there 50 years from now, because it's like concrete. But, you're right about the trenching. I don't know what the right answer is, I really don't. I know if you put wood poles in, sooner or later, they're gonna rot. You know, I mean, that's the name of the game, but, you know, so far, we've been able to kind of keep a handle on it. Now, if we have a bad storm, which we did have 10 years ago, and we dropped 7 or 8 of them at a time, why, that's a whole nother show, so. I don't think it'll allow us to put them in the ditch, and I don't know that it'd be any better,
Right.
so.
Does anybody else have any
Wet's
questions,
wet.
comments for Jeff?
So,
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
sure.
Okay, moving on. Water Department, Jason.
The main thing I brought this Core and Main statement here for you guys to look at. It has prices on the, for the firemen, so they're wanting to put that hydrant out there, and that's why I had so many before. I had 4 hydrants here, and I was just wanting them to look over it, see what they'd want to do there. And because the cost on the bag, don't be scared by that one, because that's just everything together. So that's why I was going to see what the firemen wanted to do, and then I could get a better choice, or the better pricing of what they wanted of the choice they made. Because from the 3-way Mueller line down is what we're going to have there anyway. That all those prices will be used. It's the main thing of what the valve, what size of valve, if they wanted to go with a 4 or 6 inch with a steamer hookup, 3-way. And that's just what I needed to know.
Plus the meter.
Yeah, I have a price of meter, and the pipe's not on there either. Because I need to know what size you guys want to do.
Well, we don't have a meter already, like when they
Not
were doing
a
that on the highways.
It's a
they were-
$4,000 meter, we don't buy them.
No, we
6-inch
don't have
meter.
the only
Where'd
bigger,
that one come from, the one that they were using by that church across from your?
Well, that's just one we carry on our sweeper.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's just a 2-inch.
But we need the meter no matter what, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It has to
I
be
mean, it has-
measured by the state, yeah.
That will be buried down in the ground in that can. And trust me, the price from a 6 to 4 is gonna be a big difference. Because I already talked to Mike, and he said, yeah, when you get ready to know, let me know, I'll give you a price on it, just get it.
That's the same size of meter as what you put in a water well.
Yeah.
But we're required by the state to record every gallon that they pump,
Hey,
so.
you lost me a little bit, Jason. Why'd you say that price on the back isn't accurate?
Well, because see, all these are counted, every price on there is added up at the end, and see, this is for four hydrants, when they're just gonna pick one, so whatever they pick, which one they pick, deduct those other 3 prices on
Take
the back
5,000
side.
from it, because you're only picking one of the first 4. So you
Right.
take.
And one of the valves for
Yeah, and the valve,
$500.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
there's
we'll
2
be-
valves on there as well.
Yeah, down there where it's those alternates down
Take
away.
55 to 5,800 off of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Half.
Yeah, that's it, it'll
Less
be
than
under half that, that's what I was saying,
But
When-
when you throw the pipe and the meter back in.
yeah, then it's gonna be right back up there,
You're gonna
that's
be
right.
looking right back.
It'll be,
Yeah.
it'll be 10 before you get done.
Yeah.
That meter will be $4,000 or more.
So you told them where you wanted it, Mike?
Well, I
That
mean,
price,
huh?
that price is for where you wanted it?
That,
Like, did you guys discuss where you
That's
wanted it?
That doesn't matter. I mean, all you're gonna have is basically boring under Fourth Street.
Pipe, and the
Yeah.
cost of the pipe.
Yeah, and the meter.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this hydrant, Mike, you know which one you want, or I mean. this-
Well, and I just
Or I mean,
seen,
with a little research, you can figure out which one you want.
yeah, I mean, we were talking and we probably ought to, like Jeff was saying, to do it right the first time. Make it 6
Put a
inch.
6-inch, 3-inch steamer.
Yeah, see, that AVK, we're not for, Jeff either, I'm not for sure, I've never used it, all we've been using is a Mueller. And they're claiming, the salesman even claiming, the lady that talked to me about this bid, she even said that AVK is going or it's getting to be a better product. And so that's, I'm not gonna
But Mueller's been
please
around
don't,
for
that's
100
right.
years and we've used them
So
for.
please don't ask me about that AVK, because I haven't had to mess with it yet, so I'm not
You
gonna
need a
promise
three-way
nothing.
or two-way, Mike?
3,
So you're gonna get the last
The
one.
1900.
or the 1693. They're both 3-ways, they're just different brands.
Yeah, they're just
Right.
different brands.
So whatever, I mean, whatever.
I'd go with the one that's been around for 100 years.
It's the one
We've
we-
been
That's what we were
using
kinda
them
thinking
forever.
too.
I mean, yeah.
Well, that's what every hydrant in St. John
Right.
It's
does.
like buying the new pistol, you know, you buy what
And
you
so then
know.
would you jump down to the alternative on the gate valve and stuff like that, or is everything after that what you?
Well, that's gonna be some of that, but see, the T's gonna be up there, we'll need the T and everything for the 6-inch. So the main thing is the hydrant and the valves, the AVK valve or the Mueller valve.
Yeah, that's the only difference.
And then, so if you guys pick the 3-way Mueller, we'll cross all 3 of those top ones out, and then we'll cross out the AVK 6-inch valve.
Which there's
So if
only
you wanna go with
$4
me.
difference, so I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so we'll just cross that one out
so you
too.
cross that other one out
4-inch valve
above the
in there,
alternate down there.
Crush your 4-inch.
Mike,
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
said you like flow test or something like that, you need a large volume of water, right? To
When
test
they-
your fire trucks, is that,
Yes,
I mean, that's why you're wanting a fire hydrant instead of just a,
right. And also the
6 instead of
metering
4.
situation. I mean, we either carry around a meter and every time we go do something,
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't been doing that because there's no way for us to do it. So it's been an estimate up until this point of how much, and
And what happens is if you don't count those gallons, they're counted as loss.
Yeah, and it makes the water report don't look
With
very
5 or 6% loss on your water usage for the year, that's kind of tough to make up, you know. if
I'm
you
just
take
wondering
it.
like 4 to 6 difference, Mike, why would you want 6 instead of 4? Is it,
Well, for one reason, we have customers east of there. So we want to know that if he flows on the steamer side of that truck on a 5 1/4-inch hose, that he's not taking away water from the customers that are east of there. Because it still goes to the highway and turns around, comes back to the grocery store, you know.
right.
You crack that thing open, you're gonna take a lot of water out of it.
yeah, I was just going off what Jeff was recommending. I mean,
I mean, even though you're a block from the water plant, you're still on a system that feeds from downtown.
Right.
That 6-inch feeds from downtown, see? So you got customers behind you, you don't wanna drop that pressure by taking that much water out. If they're flowing and they're testing that truck, and they're flowing through that 5 1/4-inch steamer, they'll pump 500 gallon a minute. So,
or 700,
or 700. Yeah, yeah.
but yeah.
so you'd rather go with 6 then?
Anything else, Jason?
If they have a fire, they got a good plug there.
Yeah. All right, this, the pool's drained, and Jamie was gonna ask about that later. And other than that, for the water and sewer, nothing much on that.
Okay, anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns for Jason?
I haven't picked it up.
All right, moving on to Street and Park Department.
What do you guys think of West Street? Is everybody happy with that?
I think the streets are looking pretty good, Jason. For me, I think-
What you see on that sheet there is pretty much it. Gonna start I talked to Phil, he wants to start it after Labor Day. And we're trying to get as much, we got a little oil left to use up in the tank, and then we're probably gonna call that it for the rest of the year. And just later on in the winter, add a few bags if we need to. And then getting some alleys caught up, and then I'll probably be helping Jeff a lot more now and pay back that favor for him helping me out there on the electric side of it. But other than that,
All right. Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns regarding streets and parks? Okay, Jason, if you'd like to leave now, you're welcome to leave.
Do we want to ask their opinion about, we were going to talk to them about the wheel loader and dump trucks and bucket truck. Do we want to ask their opinion before he runs out? What do you guys think the priority is? We were trying to talk about the 3 main things that we think we need is, or what you guys feel, we feel like you presented a wheel loader, a bucket trucks and a dump trucks. How do we need to prioritize those? give us your guys' opinion with you.
Loader first on that end.
I'm sorry,
The loader first.
Yeah.
the loader's the most
Yeah.
important, okay,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, we just got the white one fixed, so we're good to go there.
I do have, I've spoken for a Terex 60-foot truck next week, just to test, to try out and see. And, but by far, yeah, the loader's the worst. I mean, this truck's 25 years old, if it breaks, you don't get any parts, but still, the loader's still the priority. I mean, it
Gets the most use,
gets the most use.
okay,
Gets the most use.
that's what we thought too. We
Yep.
just included it.
It
And then
does.
the bucket after that.
And then the bucket truck. Dump trucks can wait. We got them all running now for a change.
Everything's kind of going smooth now.
All right. Okay, moving on to grant administrator. Have we got anything from Lisa?
No, I talked with the lady from the state and she's still waiting on everything, so nothing's changed.
Okay, anybody have any questions, comments, concerns for Lisa?
Really?
All right, moving on. Police chief, do we have anything from Chief Adams?
No, he's busy. He ended up, having some stuff to do this evening, so, if you guys have any questions, I can report those back to him, but he couldn't make it tonight.
Anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns for Chief Adams? All right, moving on. Fire chief, Chief Sanders.
I don't have anything.
Okay. Anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns for Chief Sanders? All right, moving on. Jamie, city administrator.
Well, I want to apologize because I really thought that I forwarded that on to you, so there's my apology again. I got the invoice for Warren Brothers for the fountain, and I would like to get it approved. The total cost for them is $37,1479. So,
I'll make a motion to approve invoice number 9230 from Warren Brothers for the amount of $3,714.79.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second on the table. Anybody have any discussion on this? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, anything else, Jamie?
I was just, Isai had kind of mentioned it when Jeff was talking about the power plant. I am gonna get a hold of David and try to get something scheduled and see if he is willing to get, a video, cause, like, I tried to video, but when those engines start down there, there's just a lot going on, and I think it's gonna take more than my iPhone to get kind of a good training video per se. So I was gonna get a hold of David this week and see if we couldn't figure out a plan with his expertise, and because he can do voiceovers and all of that. So, maybe we can just have different shots of Jeff doing what he does, and then Jeff can voice over everything too, because when you're down there, you have your earphones on. It's just not very easy to hear everything. So we will be working on that and making a plan for that. So
Anything else?
that was it.
Okay, anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns for Jamie?
Spin doctor.
I won.
Compliments for saving $20,000.
Yes.
22.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I thought for sure you were gonna mention that, Jamie.
Oh, well.
Okay. All right, moving on to city attorney, John.
I don't have anything.
Okay, anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns for John? All right. Is there anything on old business that council would like to discuss?
Yes. Do we want to discuss the loader?
We can take spin doctor off.
We can take spin doctor off.
Where would that money come from, Amy?
So the loader, print off all my reports here. Water system. that there is, let me pull it back up, I haven't done that one. I think we have 25,000 in the equipment reserve from the streets that we transfer the $5,000 every time. I mean, it just depends on what you guys want to do. Like if you want me to find a down payment. I mean, because the loader's used for several things, so we can take it out of that equipment reserve. We have,
You can take part of that out of that extra road money too, can you not? Isn't that the way we did when we bought the skid
That's how
steer?
we've done, well, we bought the whole skid steer out.
Yeah, we bought it that way, out of extra money on the road.
on the special highway.
Special highway, yeah.
It's used for roads.
Yeah.
And we have,
We don't know exactly what this.
I guess we do need to finance it. I mean, we don't have an option really, but
yeah,
Well,
we
no,
have,
but I think that's what I was gonna say before Jeff said, it's that special highway, because that's specifically what that has to
Yep.
be used for, and that's
Yep.
exactly what we're gonna use.
Yep.
right.
I
So
think
we,
that's-
and we have the ending balance for the special highway, when I printed it off this morning, or this afternoon, was around 150,000. So we'd be able to make our payments out of that.
And how much do we transfer into that every year?
The special highway,
Sometimes to say that.
yeah, I don't think we transfer anything, but we,
How much?
How much are we allotted? Maybe that's what he's trying to
Yeah.
say.
It probably just goes down.
I would assume so.
so I'm gonna pull up 2019.
That was what I was thinking.
In 2019, from state payments, we received about 32,000, almost $32,700, a little under that.
Do 25% down for 5 years, that'd make the payment.
Makes sense, yeah.
Be pretty close.
So 40,000 now, roughly,
Yeah. A little less, but yeah.
a
that's
little
right.
less than 40.
It's what, 146?
Well, 157,
It's a little higher than what the county got.
Yeah, we added high lift and then hydraulic quick coupler.
Oh,
If
yeah.
we wanted
Which
to.
I think he said his is 146, that's a nice loader out there, man, it's nice.
Well, this one-
well, that
This
one
one's
would
gonna
be
be
about the
nicer.
same price.
This one's gonna be
Same
nicer
color.
yet. It's
Yeah.
gonna be a series newer. Theirs is a K, this will be an L.
Man, it's a nice loader.
And then I don't know if theirs is a high lift, I don't think it is.
Run the old Komatsu once, you'll see how nice that loader is.
I'm the one that asked her about the hydraulic coupler, you guys, and the only reason I did,
The hydraulic,
I don't know what other projects we're gonna wanna take on someday, but if you want a quick attach
with all of the,
to get other things, if you're gonna spend 150-some thousand and you spend $2,500 more to have a quick attach, it's pretty foolish.
I assume it works like that skid steer, where
Yeah.
once you put that on, it's programmed, you program it to run that piece of equipment the way that
Right.
it's designed to run.
I mean, I know we don't have any other attachments for it, and it's not like we need pallet forks, but the opportunities are endless for other things. I mean, it's very minimum. It'd be 1.5%
And in
for
10
a lot of
10
diversity.
or 20 years, if we decide to trade it off, it's worth more.
Those two options, what was that, 6,500 for those two options, Jamie, or 7,000, I think?
I think
When that loader's older, it'll be worth 15 more thousand to take a quick coupler and high lift. Those are two desired options, in my opinion.
so I mean, you did the math, so we need to be looking at reaching out to banks for a 5-year plan.
Well, I'm just sitting here looking at, St. John National's 275 for 5 years, and I'm just running off 32,000. If you put 25% down, I think that 32 will float your payment. If we want to do it. It wouldn't throw the rest of our budget in a bind, and that special highway money needs to be used for that anyway. Or is dictated how it's used, is that the way you say it? I'm not saying we have to, that's a good idea.
That makes sense.
Okay.
That's, I'm good with, you know, 25% down and 5-year through SJ and Bank at 2 3/4% interest. I mean, that's the best interest rate.
The only other thing I didn't know about is, and I asked Marshall, but I don't know if there's different weight options on a littler loader. I know when you get into big loaders, they have different counterweight options and they're significant dollar amounts, but I don't know about, you know, utility-based loaders, if that's a huge option. That's,
I don't know as we would be picking up anything.
I don't think so. but that-
Asphalt's the heaviest thing.
That's the only thing I can think of is with a high lift, you get more counterweight, and I didn't know to ask that, but I guess you could ask Luke, you know, if we wanted to make a motion pending checking in on weight options, I don't know. I know on big loaders, you can get $20,000 variance on your counterweight options, but I don't think it is on a little loader, on a utility-based loader, I guess is what I call it.
You don't think this loader is too big, right, for our streets and what we use it for, like,
I don't know, you could, the only reason, here, I've got this stuff.
That's what
I know a 444 would be very comparable to what we had, but this was just so much more loader for the, or so much more for the money.
right?
I was gonna look on here and see, it had the weight specs, that'll be a pretty good comparison. It wasn't as much as I thought.
Is that loader gonna fit where the current one's at?
Pardon?
Is it gonna fit where the current loader's at?
I hope so.
If not, we'll make it
We
right.
can get in the door though, right?
Oh, I think so. Yeah. I wouldn't-
Do what?
I don't know.
We've been down this road before and had to place the door.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how tall it is, I can't tell you.
Better measure.
Well,
You know, we've already opened one of them. If we don't have many more holes we can raise up like that.
Okay, just put it in the new door.
We put it in back-to-back truck, I guess. Drain the water out of it.
It doesn't have the weights and stuff on here. I must have been looking that up on the internet. That's a good point. It's gonna be it's gonna be taller because it jumps a whole tire, it jumps a tire size, 17.5s to 20.5s. What's that loader got on it now?
17.5.
Yeah, it's gonna be bigger than what we're running. But I guess that's kind of, I mean, that's a little bit of the point maybe. It's 7 more thousand, base loader, you're 7, not even quite 7,000, 6,500. Then you go from a 2.5 yard to a 3 yard, 17.5s to 20.5s, 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder, 4-speed to a 5-speed. I mean, it's a different level of loader for $6,500, but maybe versatility wise, maybe it is flirting with being a little too big. I guess I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know, I just was curious.
And I don't have a clue about getting it in and out of the door. I never thought of that, but that's a pretty good point.
I was trying to look it up.
I'll have to go out and measure that one of theirs, I guess, because that's the closest one we got.
Yeah, it's a K. but it-
Pending, measurement, subject to it fitting in the garage door.
10 foot 11 inch width, 5.4 gallon.
Yeah,
There shouldn't be any reason that it won't.
well, I know the width's not gonna be a problem.
Width isn't a problem. Height shouldn't be a problem either.
Does it give you a height
I
on
mean, even the tires aren't much
It
more.
looks like 10 foot 11, but
Yeah.
10 foot 11? It'll
so
go,
that's what it looks like.
yeah.
I think we need to sell the old loader. I don't know. if
Yeah,
we're gonna need to
I
discuss
agree
that.
with that.
at some point.
I think Jamie advertising on Facebook, new sealed bids or big iron or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we'll discuss it when the new one comes.
That's what I would do. I mean,
I don't wanna keep it, I'm just saying, if we're looking at getting rid of it, we need to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so do I hear a motion on the table?
I mean, I guess are we all good with 25% down, 5
10
years,
foot 11 inches,
2 3/4% interest?
10 foot wide, Jeff,
I think that's
10 foot wide.
safe, you know, the only thing that does worry me and I think that's pretty safe. But the only thing is, payments, you know, we're thinking about going into the water tower, and we're thinking about power plant, you know, borrowing money for that, you know, I realize those are totally different, you know.
The thing
But,
about
but,
it.
but at the same time, I know that our equipment is
Right.
getting all a certain age and they need replaced, but
But that
I'm
payment
fine
shouldn't
with
affect
this.
the water tower if it comes out of special highway, because that's money that can only be used.
No, I realize, I'm just talking about
Yeah, right,
the
overall.
amount of money that the city's
And
waiting
also
for.
with 150 in there and only taking 25% out, we'll still have some
Yeah, about
reserve, I mean,
100
we
over
can-
110,
yeah, that's right.
and then another 25,000 coming. Is that from John Deere,
Yeah,
Murphy's?
here, right here. Well, it's not gonna matter because the dollar amount's not right, just need to dollar administrator. Yeah.
I'd make a motion to purchase a high loader for $157,867 from Murphy's in Great Bend. Is that right? And to pay 25% down of special highway fund and finance the rest for 5 years at 2 3/4% interest through SJN Bank.
Second. Okay, I have a motion and a second on the table. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mark, I'll abstain.
Oh, yeah. One abstain. Thank you. All right, anything else off of old business? Okay, having no new business, we have an executive session, a 10-minute executive session, non-elected personnel, and to include everybody here except, Jamie, who do we not need in here?
Mike.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the table. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll resume at 16 after. Call this meeting back to order.
I'd make a motion to resume the same executive session for an additional 5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, a motion and a second on the table. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll resume at 9:12. Call this meeting back to order. Do I hear a motion on the table?
I make a motion to move Eric Crowley to $15.25 an hour, effective.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the table. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Having no more business, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second on the table. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.